Before you created anything, before you wrote the poem, painted the canvas, designed the website, composed the music, or captured the photograph, you already had an identity. And this is something many creatives forget, because we live in a world that constantly asks us, what have you made? What have you achieved? What have you produced? But Scripture asks a very different question. Who are you? Today we're going to explore something that sits at the very heart of creativity. Not technique, not productivity, not even inspiration, but identity. Because the courage to create does not begin with skill. It begins with knowing who you are. Welcome to the Courage to Create podcast, a creative sanctuary for Christian artists and the wounded imagination. I'm Theodora Songhai, and I'm glad you're here. The Bible opens with a simple but profound sentence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. Before anything existed, before humanity, before culture, music, architecture, language, or art, there was a creator. Creation is the very first thing Scripture reveals about God. God could have introduced himself as ruler, judge, or king. Instead, the first way we meet him is as an artist of the universe, a creator who forms light and darkness, a designer of oceans and mountains, a composer of birdsong and wind, a painter of sunsets and galaxies. And when we begin here, something important becomes clear. Creativity is not a human invention. It is a divine attribute. Later in Genesis, we encounter another extraordinary statement. In Genesis 1:27, it says, "So God created mankind in his own image." This idea, the image of God, is one of the most profound truths about humanity. It means we were created to reflect something of God's nature into the world. His compassion, his wisdom, his relational love, and yes, his creativity. This means something incredibly important. Creativity is not reserved for a select few. It is woven into what it means to be human. You were created to create. Long before you picked up a brush, a pen, instrument, camera, or laptop, God spoke creativity into your DNA. Within you, he planted imagination, sensitivity, vision, curiosity, the ability to notice beauty, and the courage to shape things that do not yet exist. But somewhere along the way, the dream often dims. Fear creeps in, comparison silences us, cultural or family expectations push us into roles that don't quite fit. Or perhaps rejection breaks something tender inside us. Slowly, we begin to believe the lie that creativity is a luxury, something childish, something impractical, something we cannot afford to pursue. So creativity becomes disconnected from identity. Instead of something that flows naturally from who we are, it becomes something we must prove. We begin to ask, am I talented enough, good enough, successful enough, recognized enough, and the joy begins to drain away. But the biblical story reminds us of something very important. God always gives identity before assignment. Before Abraham became the father of nations, he was called friend of God. Before David became king, he was a man after God's own heart. Before Jesus began his public ministry, a voice from heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Notice something extraordinary about that moment. Jesus had not yet performed a miracle. He had not yet preached a sermon. He had not yet healed anyone. Yet the Father declared his love and pleasure. Identity came before output. And the same pattern applies to us. Before God ever asks us to create something for the world, he invites us to receive something first. His love, his delight, his presence. This is why identity matters so much for creativity. If you create from insecurity, your work will always feel like a test. If you create from comparison, your work will always feel insufficient. If you create from pressure, your work will always feel exhausting. But when you create from belovedness, something changes. You stop striving. You begin receiving. You stop performing. You begin participating. Your creativity becomes less about proving something and more about responding to love. And when your creativity flows from that place, something beautiful happens. Your art becomes infused with grace, with humility, with honesty, with the quiet fingerprints of God. Psalm 139 reminds us, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." That phrase, wonderfully made, can also be understood as beautifully complex or astonishingly formed. God did not create humanity mechanically. He created us artistically, with personality, with imagination, every creative inclination, every sensitivity to beauty, every fascination with color, texture, movement, language, or sound. These things are not accidents. They are invitations. Small signals pointing toward the creative life God planted within you. One of the greatest spiritual practices for creatives is simply this: remember who you are. Remembering who we are, not through achievements, not through recognition, but through relationship with God. When we remember that we are beloved, creativity becomes less frightening because we are no longer trying to secure our worth. Our worth has already been given. And from that place, creativity becomes something sacred, a collaboration, a quiet participation in the ongoing creativity of God. So today, I want to invite you into a simple reflection. Ask yourself this question: where have I attached my identity to my creative output? Have you believed that your worth depends on your productivity, your talent, your success, your recognition? If so, gently release that burden. Instead, spend a few minutes today simply remembering this truth. You are created in the image of a creator. And before you ever make anything, you are already loved. If you have felt pressure to prove your creativity, if you have tied your identity to your output, If you have forgotten the quiet truth of who you are, may this be a gentle reminder. You were not created merely to produce. You were created to reflect the beauty of your Creator. May your creativity flow not from striving, but from belovedness. May your imagination awaken again. And may you remember again and again, you are already held in the love of the one who made you. If today's episode resonated with you, I invite you to spend a few minutes journaling or reflecting on this question. What would my creativity look like if I truly believed I was already loved? What would my creativity look like if I truly believed I was already beloved? And if you'd like to go deeper into this theme of identity and creativity, I created a devotional for artists called Beloved, Created to Create. It's a 30-day journey exploring what it means to create from identity rather than pressure. You can find some information about it on the Creative Courage Sanctuary website, and I will also put a link to where you can get it in the show notes. And if this podcast is encouraging you, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Because in the next conversation, we will be exploring when fear stops you creating and reminding ourselves that courage is not the absence of fear. If today's episode encouraged you, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps this sanctuary reach other artists who need it. And if you'd like guided creative exercises, devotionals, and spiritual tools for your artistic journey, visit the Creative Courage Sanctuary website and join the email community. Until next time, create bravely, rest deeply, and remember, your creativity is holy.